Like he's singing here, "Wow, no, tomorrow." I don't know the words, but with the phaser, "Wow, tomorrow," it would sound heavier. And that, I believe, is what most people are complaining about. Also, here's the thing. He's not engaging the muscles, the vocal folds. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back in the studio with a good cup of coffee for one more vocal analysis. And this weekend happened Back to the Beginning show. It was Black Sabbath's farewell show, and we had a performance from Guns N' Roses. I had people asking me to react and analyze Axl Rose's performance, and that's what we're going to do right now. For those who are new here, my name is Caio. I'm a singer-songwriter and voice teacher. As a voice teacher, my work is based on laryngeal physiology and biomechanics, so understanding what the muscles that you have inside your larynx are doing for you to produce the sounds that you produce in contemporary singing. And I work also with vocal distortions. Yeah! So let's go, without further ado, let's listen to some Guns N' Roses here. Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. So here's the thing. I don't know how's been the feedback that people are giving to this particular performance. I haven't seen comments yet. However, I can foresee people complaining that Axl is not sounding the way that he used to. In fact, I'm preparing a video what happened to Axl's voice. So I'm planning that video. I might record it real soon. Thing is, let's be pragmatic and let's separate things. First of all, his control of pitch. He's singing on pitch, and he's singing notes that are pretty high. No problems when it comes to his upper range. He's able to hit the notes that he was ever able to hit. So this is a C-sharp 5. It's quite high, again. So he's able to sing the notes. That's the first thing. Is he having vocal cracks? No, he's not. Caio, then what's the problem? Why are people complaining about his performances? Well, here's the thing. And I'll be 100% honest and transparent with you guys as a singer myself and as a vocal coach. Axl's performances are not being bad. They are being inconsistent. He goes there and he sings one night and we have one kind of vocal performance, and then he goes the next night and we have different adjustments, but those different adjustments to the audience that is so into Guns N' Roses and the way that he used to sing back then, it makes a huge difference. And those different adjustments are basically distortions versus clean singing. Axl was a singer that would use a lot of what we call phaser voice, which is a kind of vocal distortion. So, for instance, if he's singing here, like this, his vocal folds are in passive tension. That means that we don't have that much vocal fold engagement or muscle mass mobilization or compression. The vocal folds are more relaxed. And if we were talking about the Axl 20 years ago, probably instead of having something like no return, we would have something in the direction of no return. So more compression and vocal distortion. However, the thing about this kind of vocal distortions here, the phaser voice, more specifically the phaser creaky, because we have more crackling here, is that singing with a phaser is not as strong and projected as we feel. In fact, if you were to sing that totally clean and compressed and strong, no return, that's way hard. That requires way more strength on the muscles than doing the no return. The vocal folds are more relaxed here. So it makes sense to think that when Axl, that is so skilled on the phaser voice, when he decides to sing clean, he goes towards something that would be closer to the distortion that he would do, which is that softer sound, no return. And that's what most people complain about. He's just, instead of doing the distortion, he's using a clean adjustment that's closer physiologically to the distortion that he would use. Now, is that wrong musically? It's not. He's singing on pitch, he's singing on rhythm. The thing is, people are so used to the way that he sounds with the distortion that when he doesn't do the distortion, they feel like he's sounding bad. But it's not the thing. It's not sounding bad. You know? It is, again, a different adjustment. People also say, oh, but he's too nasal. Also, the phaser voice, requires some nasality. Oh, by the way, this morning I woke up with a cold. My voice is not in great shape today, but I'm doing my best to show you guys the technique. But yeah, keep in mind that my voice is just not great today. However, the phaser requires some level of nasality. It doesn't need to be like 100% nasal, but we need a level of nasality for the phaser. Like he's singing here, I don't know the words, but with the phaser, it would sound heavier. And that, I believe, is what most people are complaining about. Also, here's the thing. He's not engaging the muscles, the vocal folds, that much. Also, we have a few muscles inside the larynx that we call the firming muscles. So the lateral cricoarytenoid muscles, the transverse arytenoid muscle, and the oblique arytenoid muscles, those muscles have the function of firming the posterior third of your glottis, so the posterior third of the vocal folds. And when they do that, you have more compression. In the way that he's singing here, we don't have as much compression, as much muscle engagement, so he has the muscles more relaxed and he's sending more air pressure. And that's the opposite of what I would recommend in terms of singing this kind of music. I would say try to use more the muscles here and send less air, because you want the sound to be heavy. You want the sound to convey the idea that you're singing with strength, that the sound is strong, is edgy. But at the same time, you don't want to make it extremely loud because you're using a microphone. And look at the distance with the microphone. He has a good distance. So if you give to the microphone the correct information, the sound that you want, and you trust the microphone to do for you the work of making it loud, you don't need to make it loud. But if you want your voice to sound strong, you need to give the microphone the information that it is strong. If I sing something with my vocal folds passive, vocal folds passive, I have one sound, even if I get super close to the microphone and I increase the volume. Vocal folds passive. This is different from doing, yeah, vocal folds active. Here, I'm giving the information to the microphone that my vocal folds are active, that I'm using more compression, more muscle mass, and I'm controlling my air pressure accordingly. If I have more compression here, I just won't send all the air that I have inside my lungs, because singing is a balance of pressures. The amount of pressure that I have inside my larynx, the transglottic pressure, the amount of pressure that I'm sending from my lungs, what we call subglottic pressure, that is below the level of the vocal folds, and also what we are doing with the vocal tracts. For this kind of singing, rock, we usually narrow our vocal tracts to have more brightness in the sound. So we already know that we're dealing with a high supraglottic pressure. It's always balancing those pressures to get the sound that we want, and at the same time a sustainable, a healthy, a safe adjustment for the muscles, for the larynx, for the vocal folds, for the mucosa. It has to be sustainable. That sometimes we have some distortion. Yeah. Now, is the way that he's singing now, or better saying, is the way that he's saying in this performance healthy or correct or right? It is. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be. The thing is, aesthetically, is not exactly the way that he used to sound, because again, we don't have as much distortion, we don't have as much active vocal folds there. It's more towards the passive side and is also clean. It's not going for vocal distortions. So it's not sounding as heavy, but at the same time, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just different sounds, different adjustments. All of them are healthy, so all of them are right. But in music and in singing, you have choices. And you can go for different sounds depending on what you want. So guys, the thing is, if you're a singer and you want to sing in a different way, then why not? Like I said, sometimes he uses a bunch of distortions, sometimes he doesn't. It might be something related also with like the energy that he has that night. I don't know. We would need to ask him. Axl, why do you use distortion some nights and not others? It might be related to how well he's hearing himself, because if he starts setting too much air pressure, in the case that he's not hearing himself that well, to try to make the sound louder, that amount of air pressure might make it hard to control the muscles inside the larynx to that degree that we need to create those distortions in a healthy way. So more volume is not exactly more action of the muscles. And if you try to make a sound distorted, setting too much pressure, too much volume, that will be unhealthy, that will be wrong, and that's not what we have here. So again, a different sound, but nothing wrong with that. Alright, now if you want to learn different vocal techniques, including vocal distortions, in a healthy way, in a safe way, check out my online course, Building Your Voice. I'll leave the link here in the description. There we talk about active vocal schemes, passive vocal schemes, ornaments like vibratos, runs, yodels. We have a vocal exercise library for us to practice each of the techniques I teach you about vocal physiology, breathing, warm-ups. We have a bonus module on music theory for singers, and again, one module dedicated to vocal distortions so that you can learn them in a healthy way. Alright? Again, I'll leave the link in the description. If you're into this kind of content where we discuss vocal technique through a scientifically based approach, then please subscribe to the channel, click the bell button so that you stay on top of what we're doing here. Every time that you get notified about the videos, you have the option of watching them or not, depending on how much that theme interests you. But the act of clicking the bell button helps me a lot with the algorithm here. Leave your comment below what you think about Axl singing right now and what other singers and performances you would like me to analyze next. Alright? Enjoy your day, drink your coffee, and remember, if your concepts cannot be seen in the real world, they must change, and not the world.